Hey everybody, welcome to Chris Anderson Comics. I am Chris Anderson. I am joined today by Dave Howlett. How you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. So this is your comic book gene pool episode where we kind of discuss a book that, shaped you in some way, made you want to do this, inspired your style, things like that. And you picked Fantastic Four versus X-Men, 1987. We're going to look specifically at issue number 2 of this 4-issue run. What made you decide to go with this one?
Well, I reread the series recently and was struck by how much I liked it. But I just
Yeah,
remember, I don't know, it was just a really good early example of a crossover done right, like done well. One that's to me felt like a substantial Fantastic Four story and a substantial X-Men story. Like, Chris Claremont wrote it, but a lot of the time, I know like his X-Men Teen Titans was really criticized at the time. Like people thought, it reads like an X-Men book, but he didn't really get the Teen Titans right. This one, I feel like he got them both right. So I thought it was like I don't know, a really great FF story, but a really great X-Men story. But also, like, it was coming on the heels of the Mutant Massacre, which is like really the first big crossover, the first big mutant crossover. And I was pretty into that. And this felt very impactful coming out of that. And
right.
I guess on a more personal level, the cover always stayed in my mind because my mom walked by me reading it and was just horrified by it because, when you look at that cover, it's pretty awful. Like, Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman are dead, and Wolverine's standing over them, and Franklin is like crying his eyes out, and Doctor Doom is laughing in the background. Pretty upsetting, like my mom wasn't too thrilled with it at the time.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah. This is a great cover. So it's we've got John Bogdanov. Is that how you say his
Bogdanov.
name? What is it?
Bogdanov.
Oh, okay, Bogdanov. He yeah, he's somebody who is always like sort of like on my radar, but I never like really got that deep into. But I love the art on this. This cover in particular is pretty striking, you know.
Yeah, no,
Besides the dead family on here, just that Wolverine image is, enough to pull you in.
yeah, and I think one of the things I really enjoyed about it is his Franklin is really good because I find like drawing kids
Yeah.
is not easy, and some people just can't do it at all. I don't know if you've ever seen John Byrne try to draw children; they just look like little people. But like his Franklin throughout it is kind of the protagonist of the series in a lot of ways. He like really gets a lot of great little kid emotion out of him. Like he gets him looking scared really well. He gets him looking
Yeah.
happy really well, and yeah, I think the cover is a good example of that.
Yeah, I agree. He really nailed the kid in this. So to set it up for like the first issue, we kind of learned that the Kitty Pryde is something's happened to her where she's kind of stuck in this like ghost state. She can't get out of it, basically. X-Men need Reed Richards to make him some sort of machine that will, make her whole again. But over on the Fantastic Four side, you've got Franklin Richards, their son, waking up after having a dream of his dad basically killing everybody in the world, and it comes down to like this book this mysterious book that he has, and then at the very end of the dream, he kind of like combines with Doctor Doom to become one entity. I guess is kind of how they laid it out. It's it's a dream sequence, so things are kind of goofy in it.
Yeah,
But
it's symbolic. I guess
yeah,
I guess Franklin's dream powers worked. I didn't really read a lot of Power Pack, so I can't speak to that.
right. Yeah, I didn't really either, but I guess that's kind of what happens is he can also from what I get, I don't really know the character that well, so from what I gathered from reading it, he can sort of like take himself out of his body while he's sleeping and see what's happening in the world and show up at places.
Yeah, like astral projection.
Yeah, astral projection, exactly. So that's sort of, I guess, sort of somehow related to this. But yeah, the X-Men have gotten Reed to come out to them, and it's not going as planned because this book has shown up, and it turns out that it's his journal from his days of right before the Fantastic Four went up in the rocket into space. And there's something damning in it because Sue is not happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like it's his college journal, and it's the book that Franklin dreamed about, and then like almost immediately afterwards, his mother found it when she was unpacking some stuff, and he started freaking out, like, "Don't open that book, that's bad news." And it seems that his dream was right on the money.
Yeah. Terry Austin's ink in this, and yep, Terry Austin is as far as inkers go, probably about the best you can get at this time.
Yeah, and like this is the first time I ever saw Bogdanov's stuff, and ever since then I've often seen him inked by guys like Milgram or Williamson or Dennis Janke. But Janke, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Terry Austin really tightens it up. Like he's got a really great cartoony style, very expressive, but Austin just really kind of brings it all together in a really nice way in this series.
Yeah, I wonder where his influences are, because you can feel like that sort of like same DNA that like Art Adams does with the Mike Golden or with the Golden stuff, and yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to trace it, but yeah. So right off the bat, you get this sort of like fight between the two of them, which is cool to see them kicking it off. And then you have like Magneto and Storm trying to stop them. Now, at this time in the storyline, Magneto is the head of the X-Men. He's trying to do good, right?
Yeah, he's the headmaster of the school. Storm is the team leader, but he's the headmaster in Xavier's absence.
Right. And so, to stop him, you got you got Ben Grimm here slapping his hands together and making a concussion. Blows Storm up close enough to, grab Wolverine's hand. Like she wants him to stop this.
Storm, who we should point out has no powers at this point.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Sorry to spoil.
I think I kind of figured that out, but. And then you got Johnny here going to blast over here, but accidentally burns her pretty bad, and he's pretty upset about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love his Johnny Storm torch.
Yeah, it's a cool way of drawing him. I mean, it's the way that most people kind of approach him, but combined with his style works really well, I think. Mm-hmm. OG Rogue here. It's fun to see them in these old outfits. This is sort of a blind spot for me.
Yeah, that's my favorite period. Like the post-Mutant Massacre, there's a big team shakeup. Like Colossus and Nightcrawler are all injured and taken out of action.
Yeah,
and, they have to bring in like Longshot, Dazzler, Psylocke, and Havoc. So it's sort of like an early adventure of this current version of the team, and they maybe don't work together so well yet.
Right. So this is a great moment here where Rogue goes and kisses Ben to kind of take his powers away from him. And you see him sort of like pruning out here. Mm-hmm. And it's this really great written moment about how, this isn't like a passionate kiss. This is, something that she kind of has to do here. And that they just, neither one of them really get to ever have any like physical contact moments, because she will kill you if she touches you, and he is such a grotesque monster nobody wants to come near him, and it's just part of both of their psyches. And to have this weird moment where she's taking the power away, you could just kind of feel both of them just like sucking in the really like living in the moment, because this is one of the few times that they're gonna get to have something like this.
Yeah, this 3-panel sequence was one of a few in here that was like, this is why I want to do this issue. I always thought this was such a great sequence that, the whole line that Rogue thought she'd be attacking a toad, instead she's touched the soul of a prince. And like, as you said, it's like, as they call it, a mockery of human contact. But, it's very significant for both of them, specifically her. He pretty much passes out right away. But,
right.
She realizes, oh, he's not some horrible monster. Like, he's just a guy in here.
But, yeah. Such a great moment. Claremont's really good at making those kind of moments.
He is. I always say about Claremont, like there was a long time where I didn't really like him because I thought he was too long-winded, and I thought the accents were a little much. But I've in my recent rereading of a lot of this stuff, I feel like if you took away the accents and you took away the visuals, you would always know who's talking, because he just has the characters just nailed down so perfectly. Even the Fantastic Four, who he wasn't writing at the time, he kind of understands them all perfectly too.
Right. you got this moment here where Johnny gets hit by Psylocke too, which is cool because it's that very small window of time here where she is wearing this like pink outfit
with the puffy sleeves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that outfit. It's ridiculous, but I like it.
Yeah, I love. They should bring it back just for a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Also,
so
like this Marvel
what's
Super Mode ad with Storm, where she's thinking the blurb instead of saying it for some reason. That always struck me funny.
Yeah, that is goofy. So they're trying to get Wolverine down, and he kicks Reed in the face, and man, is that a great drawing.
I know, like just a great depiction of the elasticity of his skin, but also just that Wolverine just can barely be contained. Like this panel here where She-Hulk's trying to pin his arms down, and he's just like lashing and lashing.
Yeah,
he barely hold him. That's so cool.
He's like an animal in a Shorty's like an animal in a snare. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And yeah, Psylocke's trying to calm him down, and that's not doing anything either.
No. Yeah, this is such a great panel. I kind of wish that they wouldn't have tried to put this bruise on him here. It kind of messes with it, but he maintains it through kind of the rest of it, so I guess that's fine. But man, that's just some great cartooning right there.
For sure. Let's also say too, they brought over the team of Glynis Wayne on colors and Tom Warzakowski on letters, so it really kind of brought a big chunk of the team over from the X book and kind of maintained that consistent flavor.
Yeah, and Orzakowski's lettering in this issue is top notch.
One of the greats, just absolutely great letters.
Yeah, he's like still playing with like moments like this where you'll have a bunch of different size and this wow is vertical and things like that, which you don't see too often in modern comics anymore because everybody's doing it digitally. It's so much more effort to try to do something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, like Claremont, a wordy writer, he had a lot to get on the page, and he always made it work. He never made it look cluttered or weird or anything.
Yeah. Yep. Here is a great example of how well he draws kids.
Yeah, look at that. Like, that's a sleeping child. I looked right in the page previous where he's crying, explaining his dream to his mother. Like, that's such good cartooning. Like, that expression is fantastic. Pardon the pun.
Yeah. So here he is. He's kind of like coming back into himself, and talking about how, they're fighting over there. So he can clearly, he's there. He can see it, and here she is contemplating this journal, and you're starting to get, and she's getting pissed. She's starting to get a picture. You can tell through context clues what she has read in here, kind of already before they lay it out at the end.
I really like this panel of the classic FF too, when she's flashing back. It's so good, like her old hairstyle and the lumpy old Ben Grimm.
Yeah, I love it. And there's her hair. Yeah, there's a couple of shots in this series where they have the old ones. So what you had before this is out. So they're in Muir Island in Scotland. And that's where they're kind of hanging out. And there was some like report of a ship that like capsized or something. And Longshot, being the lucky one, was out on a boat with Dazzler, and he fell into the water because he had never seen the ocean before or water moving the way that it does. And he ends up pulling in this fisherman because must have been luck, right? And they bring him back to shore. And this was in the previous issue. There's something to like this fisherman smiling like a smirk because they know that they're going to bring him back to the island. That's exactly where he wants to go. And so as they run out to deal with the fighting or whatever that's happening outside, the fisherman gets up and opens his mouth, and that is just a great panel.
Yeah, awesome robot design.
Totally. It feels like EC-ish, but then also you've got like these robot, like the skin has stretched, and you see the mechanics under it. So good.
Sort of like that scene in Superman 3 where Robert Vaughn's sister gets sucked into the computer and turns into that cyborg.
That was terrifying as a kid.
Yeah, that messed up a whole generation, I think.
Oh yeah. So Moira comes out, tries to and finally calms him down. His stuff comes back in. Yeah, Reed's got the bruise, and he's kind of like, I can't, he's not gonna help them.
Yeah, he's suffering a crisis of confidence, basically. Like whatever he saw in this book made him think like maybe I don't know all that I think I do, and maybe I can't be trusted, and so therefore he doesn't even want to try, and that's why Wolf
Right.
flipping out so bad.
Yeah, he's just given up. Love Longshot's face here.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
that.
he definitely does good long shot.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like art could have drawn that, you know, almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, this is great as this robot comes out, and the guy's face, it's just the guy's face on it now, and it's just melting off. I love it so much.
Yeah,
And it lights up, and boom.
I should take this opportunity to point out I selected this comic before Comic Con's big announcement.
Okay.
Weeks before. It's nothing to do with Robert Downey Jr. or the MCU. But this is also a great Doctor Doom story as well, I'll say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, I wonder what they're doing with that. I don't like not to get off topic for a second, but that doesn't it just something doesn't feel right to me on that. It just feels like there's a red herring.
Yeah, like I mean, we'll all have to wait and see what they're going to do. There's a way it could be done well, and there's a way it could not be done well. It definitely has a whiff of flop sweat about it. Bringing back the
Yeah.
Russos in him too, but we'll see.
We'll
I
see.
don't want to judge just yet.
No, right, right. But I'm glad that Doom, who is like, I would count him among, if not the number one best villain in the Marvel universe, you know, up in the first three for sure, you know.
Maybe in comics, even he's up there.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah, for sure. Always just loved his design, and the mouth always freaked me out because knowing that that's like mechanical stuff going on in there, I was always kind of like, what is he? But he's also a person under there, so what is he like biting on some sort of mechanical thing? Like I could never like figure it out as a kid, and you're not supposed to. It's just supposed to be weird and creepy.
There's I don't know if you're a Stephen King fan, but his nonfiction book Danse Macabre. Have you ever had a look through that one?
No.
He's got just like a paragraph where he just talks about Marvel comics because his kid is into him at that point, and he describes them all in a really cool way. And his description of Doctor Doom is that he seems to be literally sweating rivets, and I always thought that was a great way to put it.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it. Yeah, I mean, I've always loved this character.
Yeah, you get the Kirby crackle in the background, of course. Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah, I just this past weekend I went and saw Kirby, the Kirby experience here in Los Angeles, and I got to see all those originals. And yeah, there was I think it was a photocopy of a sketch of Doom, but I mean, still in context, it was great.
Everybody's posts about going to that and wishing I could go because it looks amazing.
Well, who knows? Maybe it'll come to your area. Who knows?
Doesn't seem likely that it'll come to Nova Scotia, but I can live in hope.
Why not? Give Nova Scotia some, people.
Yeah.
So this thing is just basically like a projector, right? Yeah. And that's a lot of work to go through to send a projector. I mean, but hey, it's still cool.
Yeah.
And he's basically telling them, hey, I heard that you X-Men need some help with Kitty. Reed's not going to help you. I will help you. No strings attached.
Mm-hmm.
I have my own reasons. And, everybody's like, there's always strings attached,
Yeah.
And so they're kind of contemplating it right now because, they're not really very happy with Reed, It's very, very quickly they have their opinion of him has turned,
And
And
Reed's not really helping his case. Be like, well, you can't go with this guy. Like, well, you're not doing anything for us, so.
Yeah. And so they like basically tell him to, Maury tells him, get the hell off my island. And you see him just like slunking back into the jet. So that's great. I just love it.
I really like that She-Hulk is along for the ride on this one too. Like she's officially back with the Avengers at this point, but just sort of by stance gets thrown into the mix.
Yeah. And I wonder why that is. It is really just sort of like, let's put She-Hulk in it,
Yeah, I don't really know what the reasoning was, but I'm glad for it. I think it works.
It did talk about at the beginning how she was preparing for like a mock trial as they were doing a case study of the trial of Magneto. So maybe that comes into play later. Honestly, I only read up to this book. I've got the other two because when we're doing the Chris Claremont X-Men comic club, you know, we're like 12 or 13 issues into the entire Claremont run right now. So I've got a while before I get here.
Okay.
So I don't want to spoil it for myself yet.
Yeah,
But
I don't think it really comes back. I think they just maybe wanted to even out a little bit since Sue had to be back in New York for story purposes.
that makes sense. Sure. But there's also this whole thing where happening at the same time where she's studying the trial of Magneto, and Magneto, the Fantastic Four still think of him as a villain, and he's really trying to like change his, you know, change the way that people look at him.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there's all of that kind of going on. So yeah, this is great. So Magneto here reconfigures the robot into a gurney basically for Storm, who has passed out from the pain of being burned.
Yeah, Storm is such a badass. I love this scene. Like she's barely standing up, but just long enough to see the FF take off, and then she
basically say "F you, Reed Richards," and then collapses.
Yeah.
but he makes, look at how he makes the gurney. It's still in the shape of like a weird robot.
Again, credit to Bogdanov. Like I don't know if that was in the script or not, but I love what he did with it.
So weird. I love it. I love it so much. And this drawing of Rogue kind of coming back to herself.
Yeah.
Oh, so weird. I wish like she should stay like that for a little while.
Yeah, I recently read one where she absorbed Colossus's powers. She was running around like him for a little while. I love when the physical transformation aspect of her powers is, I think, a lot of fun for artists to go nuts with.
Oh yeah. Here it's weird because like he doesn't even look like a female Ben Grimm. It's just straight up Ben Grimm.
Yeah. Well, some giant boobs going there too.
Well, is it? I can't really even tell.
In the top panel, I think he even drew a nipple in there.
Is that right?
If you look really closely in the top panel, there's like the hint of a nipple.
Oh yes, there is.
Doesn't really make any sense, but whatever.
Well, you know, it's a pebble in there.
Yeah.
Pebble on the rock, man.
I really love this panel of Kitty too. Like she's really starting to feel the, you know, I don't want everybody fighting over me kind of thing. Like this isn't worth it.
Yeah. And so now we flash back, or we follow back to, you know, Reed is like, you know, beat up and he's kind of like looking at a machine that he has, and he's saying, you know, this could actually probably work if we just used it on Kitty. And then you get this big Ben Grimm hand coming behind him and just walloping him.
Yeah, again, Bogdanov, like that face just like mashed up against the wall. It's
dude killer. How good would he have been on like a Plastic Man book too, you know? Like
yeah,
that would have been great.
I don't know, like on the computer screen it says limited product inset. I wonder if that was like a placeholder for something or what's going on there. I never noticed that before.
Oh, here, yeah.
Yeah, not important, but just kind of a strange thing to throw in there. I think it probably was a production error. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. That is weird. And this is great because this is 1987, right? So your Image founders have some of them have started working in the industry, you know, but the 90s look has not been established yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's creeping in with people like him and Art Adams, but it's not very strong yet. But doesn't this feel like this could have come out in like 1993? This Image.
For sure, but it's such a scary version. Like I love Ben Grimm. He's been one of my favorites since I was a kid, and just like even though it's supposed to be people like, oh, he's a monster, he's horrible, but he's this very lovable character. Like,
right
there, you can see like Jesus, that would be scary to be staring that down.
Oh yeah, and this drawing of him in particular is just like, man, that open mouth. It's so good, and I love the way that he's lighting him here too.
Yeah, it looks great. The backlit there, he just looks so sinister and just so pissed off.
So he grabs him, and now he has to face everybody here. Let's see, who's that's She-Hulk. Okay, I was like, who's the other woman? I got it. Okay, so she's still hanging out, and they tell him to start reading through the book, and so we're about to find out what happened. And Ben keeps saying, you know, like as a side note, he just keeps saying, "You're so smart, Reed. You know, except for just that one thing about the gamma rays. That was kind of weird that you didn't realize that gamma rays could have done this to us, but because you're so smart and everything else and calculated, and that was just kind of weird." And he mentions it like twice up to this point, which is, you know, obviously it's going to be something to do with that. This panel of him throwing him in there, man, that just feels real to me. That body language just feels like he's been shoved and is about to like regain his balance.
Yeah, just like the darkness of the room, everybody's all like dramatically lit from the city behind. Really, really humble. It's great. And yeah, Sue is just not having any of it.
And as cool as the coloring is, like, I don't really have any complaints about it. I would really love to see this black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta get that John Bogdanov artist edition.
Yeah. Honestly, most comics I just want to see black and white.
Yeah.
No offense to colorists. Colorists do a great job, and many times they're like helping the artists out, you know, and it's also a storytelling device if a colorist is, you know, doing it right. But man, I think it's just because as a ink artist myself, I always just want to see it in black and white too.
Yeah. But if anybody's going to be coloring it, I'm glad it was Glynis Wayne.
Yeah. Yep. And so we get this moment where he's talking about, he's just kind of reading here about, you know, he's heard of these mutations, and it's got to talk about Charles Xavier, and, you know, he's got all these theories, like maybe it's possible to, you know, do the same kind of thing to people who aren't mutants, basically. And, you know, somebody's got to fight off these things that are coming at us, you know, like this dude back in the issue 1 of Fantastic Four.
Well, actually, that's not who that is. If you look, he calls him extraterrestrial intelligence Gormu. This is actually from like one of the Marvel Monster comics that was repurposed by, I believe, by Byrne into an FF issue where he put, because I think there was an existing story that featured a guy who was basically Reed Richards, who had a blonde girlfriend, and he kind of was like, well, that's Reed Richards, and that's him encountering a monster for the first time. So just sort of
cool.
Like back engineering this little backstory for them. I really like the idea of them tying it in with Xavier and the mutations is like, like Xavier's studies on mutations is maybe what put the idea in Reed's head to go into space in the first place. Just for the purposes of this story, I think that's really a smart stroke of storytelling.
Right. Yeah, we're in a spot. We just recorded an episode. It's not out yet for the X-Men, where it was a Marvel fanfare. No, a Marvel team-ups issue, where Peter Parker is in a conference with a bunch of scientists, and they're talking about you know, mutants who are born with it versus ones that are man-made, like Spider-Man or the Hulk and stuff like that. And it really got me thinking, like, where do they draw the line in those things? You know, how did they, and was there a conversation before this team up episode about the difference between the two? And we couldn't really find anything. And it just seems like it's been up to Claremont to sort of build the difference between them at this point. He's the only one that I've seen talking about it. And here it is another time. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. He was the keeper of the flame for 15 years, I think. Like all
I think 17, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Wild. So here, and then this always drives me crazy. But they switch scenes from this panel here where Reed is talking about stuff, and then they jump over back to Scotland now. I mean, that's just a personal thing, but it's not that big of a deal.
For it.
It's just always weird to me when they do it in the middle of a page.
Yeah, it is a little weird. But
I mean, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. But so yeah,
Wolverine's idea of a workout though is just to go slash boulders for hours, I assume.
Yeah, he's just wearing like Speedo and, you know, and Speedo and boots, because you know, you got to have boots with your Speedo, and you don't want to be totally naked. And then he's just like beating up rocks because Reed Richards isn't there.
But I also like that Rogue does a little like meditation pose in the background, trying to get him to calm down. Yeah, not really.
I love it. So here is where we finally find out what was going on, and it is that Reed sort of figured out that gamma rays could possibly do this to people.
Or we should say cosmic radiation, gamma
Cosmic
rays.
yes, I'm sorry, cosmic
Yep.
radiation. They're not gamma rays. That's Hulk.
Yes.
Um,
In DC, it's lightning. In Marvel, it's radiation. That's
right.
how you get superpowers.
Right. And he engineered the tip of the rocket in just a way that they would get blasted with this stuff, and it would do it to them on purpose. So he knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah, or at least this journal, this mysterious journal, alleges that.
Right. And he's not fighting it too much.
Yeah,
He
kinda
is
like,
saying, like, if you believe this, but
Yeah.
like, he's not saying, I didn't write this,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird.
Yeah, you'd think he'd remember a thing like that, but he's just kind of all confused and muddled, and he's just like, I don't know, I don't trust myself anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess once you've been cooked by cosmic radiation and turned into a stretchy guy, who knows what has happened to your mind at this point?
Right.
Now I'm just making excuses for him.
Yeah. I kind of want to see. I would like to see side by side with Fantastic Four #1 to see if it's like shot for shot. If he redrew him shot for shot, or if it's
top left one for sure. Like I remember
Yeah.
that panel. Yeah, and I think a lot of them he's kind of like combined some of the imagery. Like I do remember them sneaking onto the rocket pad there, and I think even this bottom one where they're transforming, he might have combined a few images, but you know,
Yeah.
definitely tipping the hat to Kirby there.
Love it. Any chance to tip the hat to Kirby, every comic book artist should take it, you know?
Hell yes.
And then yeah, they kind of the X-Men here are just sort of talking about how I think they're gonna go with Doom to help them save her, right?
Yeah, they're talking it out. Dazzler's like, no, you can't do it because, you know, I fought him one time, but I think they're all basically like, we all have.
Yeah.
we know there's no choice, but, you know, the majority seems to be swinging towards going with Doom's proposition.
Yeah.
But I like the cross-cutting here of like the two teams kind of in crisis, you know? I know you were cut away, but I really like the way he's doing it, going back and forth between these two debates.
So maybe that is sort of like, because here he does it again where he cuts again in the like, you know, the middle of last third of the page. Maybe that is sort of like a technique to, you know, flash it in the middle of the thing, so that because if you're reading it, you know, as you're reading it and it's going back and forth, maybe it works better, like feels like a faster pace if it's cut in the middle of the page.
Well, and plus it's the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. We want to make sure everybody's got equal page time, you know, and both teams are going through this profound moment of crisis. So it's good to check in on where everybody's at on it.
Right. Yep. So yeah, basically then, you know, they're not happy with it. And, you know, he's like heading towards a divorce here. It feels like at this point, Sue is really, really, really not happy with him one bit. You know, Johnny's talking about how he's going to go out and probably won't come back. Yeah, and Ben is out, you know, so everybody's just walking away from him.
Yeah, She-Hulk doesn't have a lot to say, but really, she wasn't really affected by it at all.
Right, exactly. She's just probably disappointed. Yeah, she's just disappointed. You know, she was affected by Gamma. Yeah, and then you just get this last little moment of Wolverine and Storm just sort of talking it out, you know, and them all kind of, even though her powers are gone, which I guess I didn't realize, and she's injured, you know, they're all sort of gathering around her for like the final say in it.
Yeah, this is another one of the sequences that made me decide this is the one I wanted to do. Like, I love that she's just like, you know, I know this is bad news. You don't have to come with me, but Kitty means a lot to me, and I'm going with Doom. And, you know, just Logan lighting his cigarette off the, you know, piece of firewood there. It's great, really dramatic lighting there. And then everybody kind of rallying around her saying, you know, we stand with you, Storm, to the end. Terrific. Great ending. How can you
So
not
good.
want to read issue 3 after that?
So good. Yeah.
Nice use of the Zipatone in the background here. Also, I like that.
Yeah. This here. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, they made pretty good use of Zipatone right up until the computer days, you know?
Yeah, I got to play around with some of it recently, and I really liked it. And I need to get my hands on some more of it because I'm afraid the digital stuff just doesn't look the same.
So what I do is when I get them, I scan them at super high resolution and make TIFFs out of them.
Okay.
And then I have a folder where I've already just gone through and removed the white and made them into Photoshop files. So I can just pop them open, cut it out, paste it on digitally and cut around digitally.
Okay.
Because they're so expensive. But because they're the actual ones, there's imperfections in it. And that's the problem with digital tones, is that it's so perfect it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
So these look great. And so I've got a whole folder of them that I do that with. And then I'll use them on like commissions and stuff like that, because I'd be broke if I was using them on every page, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fun, but it's also frustrating because you end up with little pieces of cut up Zipatone all over your fingers and all over your workstation. But something to the tactile quality that can't really be replicated, you know?
Exactly. Beautiful. Well, man, this was a fun issue to take a look at. And did you pick up any like style choices from your own work or anything from his work off of this, or is just kind of like just felt so good that you just energized you to make comics?
I think I just really responded well to the juggling of a large cast and a lot of different viewpoints. Like I think it's just he's an excellent writer of ensembles, and this is a great example of it, where he's got to juggle these two major pillars of the Marvel universe and these big casts. And I think he handles everybody great. Like I don't feel like anybody is acting out of character. I think he writes a wonderful Doctor Doom. Just like the perfect kind of like devilish lenient, like, oh, I've got a machine that'll do that for you. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know. It's just an issue. I've read this a bunch, and I've kind of had it and gotten rid of it over several times in my life. And I don't know, reading it this time, it just really cemented for me. It's one of my favorite miniseries of that era, and something that had never occurred to me too. The first issue, you alluded to the dream sequence that Franklin has, and his dream powers are a part of it. And I just, reading it again, I was like, this is like The Shining, like this little kid with psychic powers having this horrific vision of a father gone bad, and everybody dying as a result. And I just thought it was really powerful stuff. And I don't know, it's just kind of like Claremont. Like I said, I've sort of gone back and forth on him, but the last couple of years, I'm just like really honed in on his strengths, and just like one of the all-timers. And I think this is just a terrific example of him operating at the top of the game, top of his game.
For sure. Well, thanks for sharing this, and thanks for talking about this with us, man. This was definitely a banger, and I'm gonna eventually come back around to the whole series, but it was cool to like just dive into this and take a look at the pages, because there's some really good stuff in here.
Yeah, I'm really glad you liked it. Like I said, I'm sorry that you had to jump ahead in your.
No, it's all good.
Spoiled a few plot points for you, but don't worry.
No.
Lots and lots of plot points.
Yes, it won't be the first, and it won't be. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time that I have to break in, because people love this run of comics. So,
Oh, yeah. One other note too. I actually bought these off the newsstand as a kid, which felt weird because like they're on like Baxter paper, like the little more.
Yeah.
I just thought that was cool that this was at a pharmacy.
Yeah, it is on Baxter paper. I did notice that. This is probably some early Baxter paper stuff. So yeah, wild, interesting.
Yeah, like there was an X-Men versus Avengers right around the same time too. That was the same deal, Baxter paper, but I was buying it off the newsstand.
Right, but you would have paid $1.75, whereas we would have paid $1.50.
Exactly.
Awesome, man. So where can people find you on the internet?
Mostly Instagram. Paschetti Western is the poorly chosen name that I have. But you got it in your show notes there, so people can find me there. Like I'm on Facebook, but Instagram is usually my happy place. I don't know. It's the one where I guess I see the least ads for now, and I'm usually the least infuriated by what I see. So that's basically where you can find me.
Okay, cool. And you have a shop too, right?
Yes, I've got a Gumroad shop, and that can be found at the link in my bio on Instagram.
Okay, I'll put that all in the show notes too. Awesome. Well, man, Dave, thank you so much for popping in and sharing this with us. And until next time,
Thank you.
later. Join my Patreon to see my work before anyone else, plus score physical sketchbooks, mini comics, and commissions delivered right to your door, and reading my new books, Something Seems Off and Three-Headed Pigman, as they are made. Go to my website to order original art, commissions, and my books, Lost Angels, Spectral: A Showcase of Fear, Chaotic Neutral, and more. Gray Matter Drip, The Art of Chris Anderson, is available now from Cosmic Lion Productions. Here are the upcoming conventions I'll be at the time of this recording. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps spread the word. Thanks.